Visual. Newsflash graphic. Split screen with President Trump on Truth Social and the Supreme Court building. Host. This is a massive escalation in the global trade war. Just hours after the Supreme Court issued a stinging rebuke to President Trump's trade agenda, the president has fired back, not by backing down, but by doubling down. As of this morning, President Trump has officially raised his newly announced global baseline tariff from 10% to 15%. This move is a direct response to a landmark 6-3 Supreme Court ruling that just struck down his previous tariff regime. We are seeing a historic battle between the White House and the judiciary, and the global economy is caught right in the middle. Here is everything you need to know. 0:45-2. The Supreme Court blow explained. Visual. Highlight Justices Roberts, Gorsuch, and Barrett joining the liberal bloc. Host. First, let's look at the blow that started this. On Friday, February 20, 2026, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in Learning Resources versus Trump that the president exceeded his authority. For the past year, the administration has used the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, to levy broad tariffs, arguing that trade deficits and fentanyl flows constituted a national emergency. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion, stating clearly, "Tariffs are taxes, and the power to tax belongs to Congress, not the president." In a surprise twist, Trump appointees Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett joined the liberal justices to strike the policy down. This effectively invalidated billions of dollars in collected duties and left the White House with a massive legal hole in its economic strategy. 2 o'clock to 3:30. The pivot to 15% and Section 122. Visual. Graphics showing Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974 versus IEEPA. Host. But if the markets thought the trade war was over, they were wrong. President Trump reacted with fury, calling the decision extraordinarily anti-American and ridiculous. Within 24 hours, he pivoted to a different legal tool, Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. This is a rarely used statute that allows a president to impose a temporary import surcharge of up to 15% for 150 days to address large and serious balance of payment deficits. Yesterday, he initially set that new rate at 10%, but after what he described as a thorough review of the court's decision, he raised it to the full 15% baseline effective immediately. This 15% rate applies to almost all countries, though there are currently exemptions for the USMCA partners, Canada and Mexico, and certain pharmaceuticals. 3:30-4:30. The economic impact and the $133 billion question, visual chart showing rising consumer prices in furniture, electronics, and apparel. Host. What does this mean for your wallet? While the Supreme Court ruling theoretically opened the door for $133 billion in refunds to companies that paid the old illegal tariffs, the new 15% hike likely wipes out any price relief consumers were hoping for. Economists warn that this statute hopping, moving from one law to another to keep tariffs alive, creates a period of high uncertainty. Wall Street initially cheered the court ruling on Friday, but the immediate 15% retaliation from the White House has left global markets on edge as we wait to see how the EU, China, and India respond. 4:30-5. Conclusion and call to action. Visual, host on camera. Links to the Supreme Court ruling in the description. Host. The bottom line? The president is testing the absolute limits of executive power. He's already signaled that his team will use the next 5 months to launch Section 301 investigations to make these tariffs permanent, regardless of what the court says about